Okay, it's a pleasure to have you all here this morning. My introductory remarks are going to be very brief. The first set of speakers that we're going to have are going to be from San Diego State, and and they are the top choice from the judges for the Outstanding Best Practices Award, and they're going to give a presentation. And the runner-up, or the is going to be from Arizona State, hometown, and they are the runner-up for that, the Commendable Achievement Award. Okay, so if there are any questions, I'm sorry, I introduced myself. I'm Art Ritter, and I'm chair of the Student Affairs Committee that's kind of in charge of all these awards. Okay, so let me bring up the speakers from the first set of speakers.
Hello, can everybody hear me okay? Excellent. Hi, everybody. We are from the University of California, San Diego. We would really like to thank the Student Affairs Committee for allowing us to have this opportunity to present to you all about our practices. So my name is Alexandra Muse. I am one of the co-presidents from this past year.
My name is Brian Ye. I was the other co-president.
My name is Iti Sinha, and I was a vice president external.
My name is Prashila Amatia, and I was the vice president internal.
My name is Christopher and I was Vice President of Finance.
And now we would like to introduce our advisor, Dr. John Watson, to say a few words.
Good morning, everyone. I wanted to say a few words about best practices for the advisors. A little bit of history for our chapter. Remember the Whitaker Foundation at the university? We recognize the Whitaker Foundation through the Whitaker Center for Biomedical Engineering. And I direct that, and the major objective of the center is for student enrichment during their time at the university. So as the head of that organization, I also oversee the student orgs, as they're called, and I was selected by BMES to be their advisor. And so these are when I started about 10 years ago, these were the goals that we match with the university's mission of education, research, and service. And they've done a wonderful job of working towards those objectives. So when I started, one of the defining moments was when the membership of the chapter came to me and asked if they could charge a membership fee to be a part of the chapter, because they were struggling not for resources but for interest in the organization. And I agreed that they could charge a membership fee if they were to demonstrate the value that would add for the student and for their time at the participating in the chapter. We hold as a result of that and some other factors, we had 2 student organizations at that time, one for graduate students, the Biomedical Engineering Graduate Society, and BMES. Now we have 7. We hold a weekly meeting where a designated member from each of those student organizations attends, and we have a common calendar for all the organizations so that they don't duplicate effort. But it's a wonderful, exciting to hear how the orgs work with each other, and so the newer orgs learn from the experience of the more mature groups. Could I have the next slide? So the guidelines as advisors that I asked the orgs to have was from the 30,000 feet level, and that they have respect for people, community, and the nation. And they've been successful in all three domains. And about 6 years ago, it was, as you all know, you graduate. And there's new leaders within each of the organizations. So I asked them all to develop their succession planning within their organization without any particular guidance from the faculty. And they've done that, and I think you'll appreciate the success that our chapter has achieved. Finally, there's often a concern about the resources that you have, and my motto is that financial support chases really good ideas, and that's been our motto and worked quite well. We've been able to raise the funding needed for these activities based on their merit. And so now I'll turn it back over to the leaders. And
Thank you, Dr. Watson.
Thank you, Dr. Watson, for those words. So if we could go to the next slide. That is us once again.
So the UC San Diego Department of Bioengineering is one of the nation's oldest departments of bioengineering. We were founded by Dr. Y.C. Young over 50 years ago, and we house over 30 faculty members, some of which are here today.
Our department offers 4 undergraduate majors, each specializing in a different concentration in bioengineering. So the first major, bioengineering, is focused more on mechanical engineering and leads to like medical devices. Biotechnology is more chemical engineering based. Bioinformatics, of course, is computer science based, and then biosystems is like a systems engineering approach to bioengineering.
At UCSD, we like to collaborate with a lot of different organizations. So we collaborate with 8 different institutions and the School of Medicine. Some of these institutions include the Institute of Engineering and Medicine, the Scripps Institute of Oceanography, and the Center for Genomic Research.
Our department building is located about 1.5 miles from the beautiful Black's Beach, so if you're tired of studying, you can take a quick walk over to catch some sun and surf.
Our chapter only contains undergraduate members, and our vision statement for this year was really to enrich the undergraduate experience of our members by fostering 4 main principles. Those were lasting relationships, professionalism, technical development, and leadership.
So this is a general overview of our organization. As we mentioned, it starts with the executive board. So the executive board is in charge of creating the general vision for our organization, starting large-scale initiatives, and they're also in charge of leading our general officer board. The officer boards are the people who plan our events and our initiatives. They plan these events through committees that are led by general members, or they lead the committees which are hosted by general members. And the general members we want to do the most of the work so that they feel that they are involved in BMES, while our officer boards is there to help lead and guide them. Here is a specific tree of how our organization is managed. So as we mentioned, these are all our executive board officers. Each of them have a set of officers under them that they're responsible for overlooking, and each of these officers are responsible for their community initiatives, planning large-scale events such as our Bioengineering Day, and for helping increase the publicity of our organization.
So as co-presidents, we have a couple of general responsibilities that we thought would be important to share. So the first one is really important, just to oversee the implementation of the vision statement we said earlier, especially within executive board and officer board. We also plan new initiatives every year, including this past year we started working with other universities with something we'd never done before. And we also facilitate coordination with the bioengineering department and other institutions, and we really think that our partnership with the bioengineering department at our UCSD campus has been really valuable for us as a organization.
So this is how we specifically implemented our general responsibilities. This includes leading weekly meetings. We've had over 50 plus executive board meetings and 25 plus officer meetings throughout the year. We had over 450 people attendance aggregate in our general body meetings. And we plan quarterly officer retreats, and these are to increase the compatibility between our officers and get them to know each other so they work better as a team. And we also do daily Facebook posts so that everyone in our org knows what BMES events are happening that day.
So as Vice President Internal last year, my responsibilities included dealing with membership logistics, facilitating communication between officer board and our general members, and also keeping administrative tabs on our officer board. So last year we had 147 undergraduate members, which is a record for our chapter, and this included people from the bioengineering major, but also from other disciplines such as biology or physics. So my specific duties included documenting meeting notes, sending out weekly newsletters, and I was also in charge of compiling our chapter development report to send to nationals.
As Vice President External, my goal was to prepare our undergraduates and our members for postgraduate opportunities. I did this by fostering relationships between the undergraduates and the local biotechnology industry, as well as graduate schools. In order to accomplish this, I held 3 workshops, 6 informational recruiting sessions, 4 industry and academia panels, as well as hosting my own office hours. All in all, I had over 400 people attend all my events. And these are the companies I had collaborated with last year.
So as Vice President of Finance, my general responsibilities included maintaining an up-to-date balance sheet for each academic quarter, finding alternative sources of funding to cover our events, running fundraisers, and providing reimbursements. For the 2016-17 fiscal year, our membership was priced at $25, and we grossed a total of $3,000, and our fundraisers generated a total of $6,400. At the end of the academic year, we were able to save $5,000 for next year's operations.
So this is just a picture of our 2016 to 2017 officer board, and now we'd like to go into each of our co-chair pairs in order to discuss what they do specifically. So first up, we have the outreach committee, which this year was held by, this past year was held by Juhi and Catherine. So outreach is really their main goal is to really engage the community in STEM, because we really think that STEM can help a lot of people and a lot of opportunities for them. So especially, I suppose, grade school students. So the first event that we volunteer at during the year is Light the Night, which is a fundraising walk for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and we send quite a few volunteers every year there. We also participate in the San Diego Festival of Science and Engineering, which is a lot of organizations and companies come together to teach grade school students about STEM in fun and new ways. Our booth this year was all about the heart and the lungs. So probably our biggest initiative for outreach is Project Engine. So Project Engine is engineers inspiring new engineers. So essentially, we go to schools and we teach them about what is bioengineering, because unfortunately, most high school students don't even know what bioengineering is. So it started with high school students, but we've actually now expanded it to elementary school students. So we go and we can do fun experiments with them, like how to build your own filtration system. And last but not least, we have the BWise MATLAB workshop. So we partnered with BWise, which is the Better Education for Women in Science and Engineering. And we held a MATLAB workshop with high school girls.
Last year, the project team committee was headed by Benji and Sean. So the first focus for project team was research division. Research division collaborated with professors to have student-run project teams. So last year we expanded to having 7 projects where 22 members were involved in. On the right, you can see some examples of projects. My favorite is the recombinant protein characterization. And at the end of the year, all of these project teams had presented their research at our end of the year banquet. The second focus for project team is called BMES Exceed. BMES Exceed stands for Students for Entrepreneurship and Engineering Design. The goal of this was to introduce our members to entrepreneurship in the biotechnology industry. This was done through 11 workshops which were attended by 170 people. Here's a list of all the workshops that we had done. We started with Introduction to Biomedical Entrepreneurship and ended with our annual pitch competition. This year, or last year, the winner of the pitch competition who won ended up spinning off their idea to a startup.
So our social chairs for this year were Nikki and Kathy. The goal of the social program is to really create a community within BMES where people can feel like they're engaged and involved and welcome. So the biggest role of the social co-chairs is to run our mentorship program, which matches underclassmen with upperclassmen. So the program kicks off with a mentor-mentee speed dating event where prospective mentees can meet prospective mentors, and we have 2 cycles of applications. And so in total, we had 33 mentors and 80 mentees this year. So encompassing our mentorship program is our family system, which is an initiative that we started 2 years ago. And so basically, this is where we place our mentorship groups within one of 3 families that are named after the 3 founding fathers of our bioengineering department. And these families basically compete against each other in fun activities throughout the year, and it encourages basically, a sense of friendly competition. And so the competition, or the family system caps off at the end of the year with our BMES Family Olympics event, during which the 3 families compete in outdoor activities such as a bouncy castle obstacle course. And basically, at the end of the day, a team won, and that team was honored at our end of the year celebration. Social also hosts other socials that are not related to the mentorship program. So this included joint socials with other student organizations, such as Bowling with Engineering World Health, which you can see in that picture. And we also hosted fundraiser socials, and one of our most important socials is our freshman ice cream social that we did at the beginning of the year, and that was to recruit new members after our department's orientation.
So here we have our Lab Expo chairs, who are Arya Call and Catherine Nguyen. So the goal of Lab Expo is to develop scientific literacy and promote research experience for the undergraduates at UCSD. So to accomplish this, they promoted interdisciplinary collaboration amongst researchers on and around the San Diego campus. So for example, not only do we have biologists and bioengineers, but also chemists, mechanical engineers, and computer scientists, to name a few. Some event statistics: we had over 500 undergraduate attendees, over 30 unique researchers, a keynote address held by our resident cardiologist, and we had live research demonstrations. Lab Expo also had a subdivision called Industry Research Tours, and this year they toured the Takeda Pharmaceuticals facility and C-Spine. At Takeda, they learned about drug development and design, and they were able to see high-throughput machines. At C-Spine, they were able to observe a cadaver lab and had hands-on experience with their tools and products, and they became well acquainted with their product development process.
So one of the bigger events that our club hosts is Translational Medicine Day, and this year the organizers of Translational Medicine Day were Yajer and Resha. So the goal of Translational Medicine Day is basically to inspire attendees to explore translational medicine, which is the recent movement to expedite the conversion of benchtop discoveries into clinical tools and treatments. So this event was started 3 years ago by our organization, and it grew from a small, sub-50 attendance event to an event this year that had over 200 attendees and 6 speakers from industry and academia. We also host tours for the Center for Future of Surgery, which houses the Da Vinci surgical system. And we have an MD-PhD panel during which people can ask questions about admissions to the MD-PhD program at UCSD.
All right. The last major event we host is called Bioengineering Day. This year is led by Alexandra and Irmak. So the goal of Bioengineering Day is to basically celebrate our bioengineering department. There we have seniors who are in our department showcase their senior design projects that they've been working on all year. In addition, we host industry demos so that students can learn more about industry. We host research seminars so people can talk about the research that's going on. And we also have a quiz bowl, which was the humble origin for this event. This year, the goal of Bioengineering Day was to build a more diverse future, and so we had a diversity panel included. We had over 466 attendees, and the event was 9 hours long.
We also, every year, we have a freshman representative, and this year our freshman representative was Tong Jin. She was in charge of the freshman committee. So the freshman committee really exists to create a community amongst the freshmen, because we know that going through bioengineering by yourself can be very difficult. So the first part of that is they did socials. So these are freshman-made and freshman-attended socials, a couple of which are classmate matching, where they took schedules of a lot of the freshmen in our BMES chapter, and they found classes that were similar, and then they could form study groups from that. There was also the underclassmen enrollment advising social, where 3rd and 4th years came and they advised these freshmen on what their 4-year plans could be like. So the other half of the freshman committee is planning the bioengineering experience. So the bioengineering experience, basically just, it's there to educate freshmen on the 4 different tracks of bioengineering. Unfortunately, many of us coming in don't know a lot about what those 4 tracks really mean. So the way that we do that is we have alumni come in and we have an alumni panel as well as a Q&A where they can talk about their personal experiences and what they actually got from their major. Also, we do a 4-year plan advising at this event as well. And it's really great because it's actually only the 2nd year that we have done this, and there are over 100 attendees.
So for advertising, we have Lucas Patel as our webmaster and John Vincent as our publicity and historian. So for advertising, we had 2 goals. 1, to reach out to the undergraduate community at UCSD, and 2, to promote long-lasting connections post-event. So for advertising, we had a few techniques. We chalked in classrooms, sent out department emails and weekly newsletters, posted on Facebook, and handed out flyers. We found best that in order to connect to our 4 different bioengineering majors at our campus, that department emails worked best.
And that concludes our presentation. I'd like to thank our department admin, faculty, and our sponsors for their support. I would like to give a big shout out to Dr. John Watson, our advisor, as well as Dr. Garrett Schmidt-Schombein, our department chair. We'll be taking questions after the next presentation.
Any questions?
Oh, are we doing it now? Are we doing it now, or are we having them go first?
Why don't we do them now? So,
I think it's better if we do it now.
yeah.
Okay.
Any questions?
How much do you collaborate with your grad chapter?
So as I mentioned, I did academia panels, so I collaborate with them quite a bit. So I had a series of 3 events related to PhD programs where I brought in grad students from our grad org. And we also collaborate with them for Bioengineering Day. It's actually hosted by both the undergrad and grad organization.
We also have done socials with them in the past, and that's and we do meet with them weekly. So.
Yeah, in the weekly meeting, the Graduate Society's 22 years old. They've been very active, and they work quite closely with all of the other organizations.
We find it's best to do it that way. That way your events don't collide too much. Yes. Oh, actually, all of us have had office hours during the year. Yes.
Do those provide value? Do people come to them? I mean, you guys have a pretty large class, so I say some of this class might be 8 people, but what do students get out of that?
So it depends on the time of year. So for Itzy, for example, she year-round, she helps students with mock interviews and things like that because she is VP external. Others of us, we do it at the beginning of the year, especially for membership collection and people to come in and ask, like, what is BMES really? Because even though we do have GBMs and we do have other events that we do, it's a lot to take in. So people like to come and just talk to us about that. And at the end of the year, it's really nice because for when we do secession, we elect our executive board at the end of the year, and so a lot of people will come to those office hours to ask us, like, what did you really do as president, as VP? What should I really be doing next year? Should I apply? Things like that. So it kind of depends on the time of year.
This was our first year for having everybody do the office hours, and it was really effective.
Yes.
How do you go about getting sponsors?
Okay, so we actually didn't have a true industry sponsor for our general organization this year, but for our large events like Bioengineering Day and Translational Medicine Day, they would form a sponsorship packet. So it's a packet that has 6-7 pages, and it's very detailed. It has an overview of what the event is, and it goes over what the industry member can get out of it, and there are different levels of sponsorships they can provide. And for each level, they can maybe advertise their company or have their name on a banner and so on and so forth. And in order to prevent both committees sending it to the same company, we had a spreadsheet that would make sure no no company was reached out within 2 weeks.
I was one of the planners for Bioengineering Day in the previous year, so I can say that we do the sponsorship packet. And another way that we get a lot of sponsorship is also through an industrial advisory board at our university. And through them, there's a lot of sponsors of our department who are willing to donate money to our events specifically. And so we go there every year and we talk to them, and they provide, or at least a fourth of the sponsorship for our large events. We also go through Dr. Watson a lot, and Dr. Watson has a lot of connections. And so I would definitely recommend going through your faculty and the head of your department to see if they have any connections with the industry.
So I'm from Colorado State University, and our program is fairly young, and so our chapter is actually about 4 years old. So we struggle with attendance and funding at this point in time, and I was wondering if you had any major points of advice on how to improve those things. What would it be?
Well, first off, congratulations that's actually really great. So I think that I feel like there are a few really big pools for us. I think the first one is that people come in and there's something for everyone for our organization. Admittedly, as a young chapter, that might not be easy, but students really are interested in things like projects or really being able to invest themselves in something. So if you can create some sort of system, like we do committees, and each committee has leads, and these leads can take on more responsibility, and so a lot of our members participate in that, and that's how we have a lot more investment from our members themselves. And once you get a more solid membership base that's very invested, it's a lot easier to bring in more people because they'll naturally just bring in more people.
But remember, this chapter was in the same situation that you are, and they worked on developing a value proposition that people would pay a membership fee to join the organization. And they did that. Not me, they.
Do any of you guys have any other things though about? Oh wait, no, I meant for her, I guess. Somebody else.
You should also advertise not just to the bioengineering or biomedical engineering crowd. You should also try biology, biochemistry, physics. You don't know who could be interested in bioengineering.
I'm actually a biochemistry major, and I decided to join, and it was great.
And I will add that, of course, having the social events and the mentorship program helps a lot for bringing people in. Once people are connected in a family and there's family points involved, then people are really motivated to come.
Friendly competition.
It's surprisingly extremely effective.
Yes.
In the very back, really quick.
How do you view your officer election and your committee and selecting your committee chair such that you can kind of have everyone who wants to participate?
So we first elect executive board.
Yeah. So we come first at the end of every year. So during spring quarter, we have elections, and that gives the new executive board some time with the old executive board to be able to talk to them, but they take over. And then the new executive board then does applications for the officers, the general officers. For the committee leads, that's up to the officers to choose in the new year. Yes.
And to clarify, it's the executive board for the next year that chooses which officers they'll be interacting with and working with for the next year.
Well, sorry, we have time for one more question.
There was one right here, yeah.
In terms of your family groupings, do you have an application for people running that, or how do you to make sure that people still come to the same grouping?
Oh, for the mentor-mentee program, how do we make sure that people stay involved?
Well, in the family program, we have a point system. So basically, there's events. If you hang out with your mentor and mentee, if you go to the family events, or you participate in our Olympic at the end of the year, you get accrue points. And then at the end of the year, we go have our banquet. And the family with the most points basically wins a reward. And so this encourages a kind of competition that encourages people to come out to the family events. The other way is just through the mentor-mentees. So we have a lot of very active mentors. All of our officers are mentors. And through that, we encourage each of them to make their mentor-mentee group participate more and come to the family events also.
We also encourage old officers and active members to continue in the program.
Okay, thank you, Art.
Thank you. Our second group is from Arizona State University, and I just want to, my own personal comment, biomedical engineering is a large umbrella. It encompasses biomechanics, biomaterials, all, and a lot of different approaches to working on cells in the human body. And so a broad range approach for your program will probably get a lot more participation. For example, instead of just concentrating on biomaterials or biomechanics, you concentrate on several different fields, as this group did. And I think it helps to get more people in and more people involved. So without ado, the second group, Arizona State University, please introduce yourself.
Great. Hello, everyone. We're really excited to be here. Really honored to have the opportunity to speak with you all. First off, I just want to say, really great job. That was a very impressive presentation, and it's really incredible what you've been able to do with your organization. So we are BMES from Arizona State University. I'm Allison Marley, and I was the president last year. And then we've got Ethan Marshall. He is the current president, and Scott Bogie, the vice president this year. So a little bit about us. We're relatively young as well. So we were founded in 2012, and we serve the biomedical engineering community here at ASU. And our mission is essentially to foster interest in the fields of engineering and medicine while providing academic and career opportunities that will help students develop relationships with industries, faculty, and students. So how we essentially do that is we take on three primary cornerstones of our organization, which is essentially an exposure to biomedical engineering, social events, and volunteering opportunities. So we have a fairly large executive board. We don't have committees at the time, but we have essentially 11 officers that serve different functions, and we all work together to accomplish our tasks. So as president, Ethan and I we oversee everything that gets accomplished by our organization. So looking into everyone else's positions and making sure everything becomes completed as planned. So the vice president essentially assists in those duties. And then the treasurer, sorry, I'm a little nervous, maintains that we receive funding for all of our events, and the secretary sends out weekly updates as to what's going on with our organization and what can you do to become involved. We have a Fulton representative, so our engineering school is the IRAA Fulton Schools of Engineering, and so they basically ensure that we are interacting with our overall engineering community. So that representative goes to monthly meetings with all of the other engineering student orgs to see what those student organizations are doing and see if we can bring in some of their ideas. And then we have an events coordinator who essentially runs our social events, and we have some student-faculty mixers each year where we have primarily most of our faculty come, and we have the student body present, and then we put on basically a mixer where there's food served, and we can discuss what we've accomplished and how to become involved in professors' research or become involved in the industry. Essentially, we also have an outreach coordinator who we'll dive into the tasks of in a little bit, but basically that looks at engaging our community in the STEM fields and how we can encourage younger members of our society to become interested in engineering. We also have a mentorship coordinator who runs our mentorship program as well as some mentorship panels. We have an industry representative who works with industry to come into our general body meetings as well as industry tours. We have a sports coordinator, so at ASU we have a very large intramurals program, so we try to have our own BMES team for most of the sports that are offered. We have also the historian who documents all of these events through photography as well as maintaining our website. We hold our elections in February each year, so that's actually a new introduction that we proposed this past year, and it seemed to work really well, where we had our elections held in February, so a few months left in the semester, and then all those elected officers shadowed our current officers for 2 to 3 months. So they would come to so we have biweekly officer meetings, so they would come to those meetings and see what the people who are currently in those roles do, so they have a better understanding when they get to be that person, which seems to be really helpful in aiding the transition between officers. So at those biweekly meetings, we basically cover what's coming in the upcoming weeks, and then plan and discuss, as well as reflect on the events that we have already had. So at our general body meetings, we have these once a month in a large lecture hall on campus, and typically we see a first meeting attendance spike. So of course you've got all the freshmen who come in each year, and they're really excited and curious about what's out there and what student organizations they can become involved in. So we see a very large spike in attendance, and typically that's around 100. And we would typically see like a drop off in attendance throughout the year, which we were really disappointed to see. But in this past year, we actually were able to maintain consistently 50 to 60 students at each of our general body meetings, which we were really excited about, to see that students were still interested in wanting to learn each month what we were doing. So, and then actually this year we saw another attendance spike where we saw 115 students come out to our first general body meeting. So typically at these general body meetings, we'll hold them on the first Monday of the month, and we have a meal that serves to students. So we'll serve the meal in the first 15 minutes and allow students to mingle and get to know each other. And then we have announcements, so what's coming up in that month, how can you get involved, what are the different activities going on in our organization as well as in other engineering organizations. And then we have a faculty speaker. So the faculty speaker will generally speak for about 5 minutes, 5 to 10, and they'll discuss their research, if they have any open positions, and answer student questions. And then we have an industry speaker. So this industry speaker will speak for around 30 minutes, and then we'll have about 15 minutes of Q&A. And the industry speaker will either be, we've had clinical speakers come in, we also have had people from startups come in, as well as large medical device companies. So we try to really angle towards all of our students to see, because we do have a fair amount of students who are interested in pre-med or medical tracks. So we've had Mayo Clinic come in. Additionally, we also, for students who are more interested in grad school, we've had PhD panels, or student panels of PhD students to ask those sorts of questions. And then we have some closing remarks, and the students are free to go. So our meetings are around an hour to an hour and a half typically. So how we fund these sorts of events, as well as the events that are outside of our general body meetings, is we have 2 primary funding sources. So our major funding source is Dean's funding, which is through the engineering college. And we submit an application at the start of each semester. And they typically fund, so we have something called the IRA standard, which is, so our school is IRA Fulton. And IRA stands for Industry Recognition in Academics. So if you can meet one of those standards, you're able to get funding. So industry, if you have an industry representative coming to speak with your students. Recognition, if you're honoring someone or bringing in a guest speaker who has to fly from out of town. Or academics, if you're teaching the students something new. We also receive funding from the undergraduate student government. They typically fund more so merchandise or basic event materials. So that can be really useful for us because that typically doesn't fall under the IRA standard. So we fall back on them for more so material-based projects. So like I said, the funding is typically put towards the food at the general body meetings. That's probably one of our biggest expenses when you're trying to feed upwards of 50 people. That can easily go over $400 pretty quickly. And then we have the student faculty mixers, where it's a very large event. Typically we have around 100 people attend that, so that's also very expensive. And we'll have typically decorations, et cetera, for those events. Advertising, we've purchased, say, tablecloths, banners, miscellaneous. We had syringe pens with our name on the pen itself, and we passed those out, and students really loved it, and so it was a good way to spread our name kind of around the student body. Also different event supplies. We had a gingerbread house competition in our mentorship program, so buying those kind of materials. And then also social event rentals. So we've gone to rock climbing or ice skating, and so when you're renting those sorts of basic things, we also need funding for those events. So in the 2016-2017 school year, we spent around $4,000. So it does really add up as you host all of these events. All right, so I will pass it off.
Thank you. So one thing that we actively try to encourage students to
attend our industry tours. We do have some good relations with industry in the area. So over the past 2 semesters, we went to Strike Board, CR Board, Mayo Clinic, and oftentimes attendance at said events were limited or capped off by the actual hosting facilities, just so we wouldn't congestate the walkways. And when we have speakers come to the events, we try to consider, all the broad aspect of BME. So we bring in small corporations, large corporations, and anyone with clinical background. And we have had WRGO participate, Neolite. We've had speakers from Strico, Naraxon, Simic Bio, and Medtronic, and they've participated both at the actual general body meetings as speakers or with our bio mixers or many of the other mixers that we've held. We do also social events. These are headed off mainly by a collaboration between the social events coordinator and the treasurer. See, and typically in the first semester, we have an MS walk. This is where students have the opportunity to walk around the Phoenix Zoo early in the morning, 7 a.m., and they'll raise funds for this MS charity. We had 9 in attendance. During the second semester, we also have Stratum Laser Tag. This is near the time when midterms are taking place. It's a good way to kind of unwind and kind of just de-stress during the midterm season. We also have hiking events. That last year we went to South Mountain, for example, but we also go to places like Camelback. And in the previous years, we've had a wide range of social events. These are typically just dependent on what the group that you kind of wants, but we are flexible, we are dynamic, and again, we'll survey and just see what the actual general body meetings and or the general members kind of want to participate in. These include biomixers, with faculty members. We'll have industry come in, and we'll just give the students like a direct opportunity to kind of interact with all these professionals. We've had mini golf. So we'll go out to actual like amusement parks and actually have the students play mini golf. We've also hosted pool parties. We also have movie nights, which are particularly useful for the mentorship program. Just in case, the mentees don't want to be social, but they still want to interact with the mentor. We also have ice cream socials. Again, those are very useful for the actual mentorship program. And we also have rock climbing, just in case anyone wants to interact more in like a physical way. One thing that we've actively been trying to expand is the outreach program. This is hosted by the outreach coordinator. And we'll do things like we'll go to high schools, we'll go to elementary schools. We'll try to promote engagement and involvement and interest in the STEM fields. And we'll also do tabling events, both at ASU, both at these elementary schools, science fairs, et cetera, et cetera. And we have a massive, and we typically promote this through a perspective of engagement, because we don't want to just lecture off, we want the students actually involved. So at every event we have medical devices. This will range from oxygen concentrators to glucometers to artificial hips, which we've obtained through collaborations with nonprofits. And we'll also have an adult-sized styrofoam Jenga game. Each side of these have questions pertaining to biomedical engineering or pertaining to biotechnology. It's a very safe and interesting way to get an audience of all ages involved, because if someone's 3 years old, you don't want wooden blocks, you want something safe and fun like styrofoam. And we also have lab tours. This promotes outreach not amongst direct BME members, but across like the general Fulton Schools, general engineering community. And we did this at 2 labs last year, one at a tissue engineering lab, and one at a biomechanics lab. And I will pass this off to Scott. Okay, cool.
I'd just like to add for the outreach when we go to like high schools, we have this gelatin brain that we pull out and we eat it. It kind of creeps them out, but then they realize it's not an actual brain. So along with reaching out to the like high school students, elementary students around the greater Phoenix area, we also reach out to our community. We do this through volunteering. One of our favorite spots to volunteer at is a place called Project Cure. It's a local nonprofit like 10 minutes away from the campus. They get a whole bunch of donated medical devices and equipment in, from anywhere from like private practices to hospitals, things like that. And then those need to be sorted, fixed, cleaned, and then packaged to be shipped out on 40-foot containers. So as biomedical engineers, we like to get our hands on things. So we go in and we fix the devices. The devices range from anything from like a pulse oximeter to a defibrillator, patient monitor. You never know what's going to come in. We've had X-ray machines, whatever comes in. So that's our role. We usually go 2 or 3 times per semester, just depending on when they can fit us in, because a whole bunch of other people volunteer. And it's something that makes us feel good. So we take a lot of exams. We, are doing homework all the time, studying. So it's good to go out there and, work on a device. And you see the 40-foot container, and there's like $500,000 worth of medical devices in there. That's pretty cool. That's going to people in need, people that need that. Another cool thing is one time we sent a shipment to Guatemala. About 2 or 3 months later, we got a thank you package back, and it contained these pens that were, a pen with a woven kind of like sheet over it, and then they had a thank you note attached to it. So those were from the women in Guatemala thanking us for the devices, and that's pretty cool. You don't really get that with an exam. We also volunteer at student org fairs and career fairs because we want to be known in the engineering community. So I was the mentorship coordinator the past few years, and we've seen it grow a lot. We started out 40, 45 people, now it's upwards of 100, just depending on the year. One thing we do is we mentor the incoming freshmen. That's our target audience, because they have a lot of questions about not only biomedical engineering and the diverse avenues you can take, but also, how do I get to class? How do I eat on campus? Things like that, because ASU is one of the largest campuses in the country. And there's like 55,000 kids on the Tempe campus where we are at, so it's a big mess. So we help kind of comfort them, but then also we are forward thinking. So we want these mentors to go with them as these incoming freshmen become sophomores and juniors and apply for jobs or go to grad school, whatever. So we want to keep that, and we do this by small groups. So we usually have 2 or 3 mentors and 4 to 8 mentees based off of their career interests. So if they're pre-med, we have a pre-med mentor, so they can ask questions and get actual answers and not just, oh, I don't know, I'm not pre-med. One of our most successful events is called Snacks and Schedules. So we get some snacks and we plan our schedules for the upcoming semester. This is effective because all the mentors can be like, hey, I took this awesome elective class. It's super relevant to BME. You should take it. This professor's awesome. And then also we tell people what classes to take together and make sure they're meeting all the requirements and whatnot. And then we also have the older mentors mentor the younger mentors. So like a senior like me can mentor the sophomore because they're still going through the same process. So it's just an ongoing loop of people mentoring others. Another way we mentor is through panels. So this year, the advising staff at ASU asked us to be part of this student-faculty panel at the beginning of the semester. So during welcome week, so like 2 days before classes start, we were in a giant lecture hall. It was 3 members from BMES and then 3 faculty. The advisors were there, and we answered questions about time management and things like how to get involved. So that's where we talk about BMES, because that's how we all got involved in research, internships, jobs, things like that. So we want to promote that because students don't know that there's an awesome organization with people kind of focused on the same thing. So for the future directions of our club, we definitely want higher attendance. So we have that, 100, 115 people come at the first meeting. We want to sustain that throughout the entire semester. We also want retainment in the major, because a lot of people don't understand BME. They don't understand what they can do. So they're in the right major for them, they just don't know that. So we want to create that awareness. We definitely want to increase advertising. One way we do this, that we just started doing this past summer, is through E2 Camp, which is a camp for the incoming freshmen. So we go up to Prescott, Arizona, which is like a lot cooler than here in Phoenix, so it's nice. But a lot of our BMES members are camp counselors. So we let them know about BMES. There's about an hour where you divide up by school, because we have 6 schools, so all the BMEs go together and we can answer any questions and then advertise mentorship program, things like that. Because you may not have questions at the time, but when you're in that natural conversation, you can kind of get those questions out of them and make them feel comfortable. And we also want to collaborate with other organizations around ASU. This could be fun events like a barbecue or professional development events, and we really wanted to reach out to other majors as well, and kind of through this collaboration, because a mechanical engineer can be involved in medical devices. Someone from biotech, biochemistry, whatever. Maybe this is the right avenue for them to get involved. So we definitely want to reach out. And I speak for everyone here. A lot of people in our BMES chapter that BMES is the reason why we're here. This is how we got internships, jobs, things like that. So we definitely want to support that. Thank you. So that's the end of our presentation. Are there any questions?
So that is something that we have struggled with. Our executive board is very large. We meet every other week and really discuss how each person is doing with their job and how they're interacting with the student body. We've played with the idea of doing committees, and I think in the future we'll probably implement that to really try and get more of the student body involved. So it does seem that there is somewhat of a disconnect. I think the committee idea is a great one. But yeah, we do really try to push the officers that are in those different roles to really reach out and make sure that they are meeting a certain amount of attendance for their events. So we actually are also a grad chapter. We don't have the large percentage of our of our body is mainly undergrad, but we do have about 5 to 10 grad students who come to our meetings as well.
So you guys mentioned your work with faculty. What is the best way to get faculty involved?
So we primarily reach out to them by email, but also in our classes. We'll go up and say, hey, we would be really interested if you came and presented to us. We think your research is great, and we know that students would really value your attention as well as experience. And so typically faculty are really receptive to that, and they are more than happy or eager to come to our meetings, and we really appreciate that. But we haven't really ever had a faculty member turn us down, which is really great. Yeah.
One thing we also do is we plan our meetings kind of when other BME classes get out. So maybe they teach a class and then, oh, hey, I wait 5 minutes, talk for 10, and then I can go home to my family and kids, whatnot. So making it convenient for them helps as well.
Yeah, we try to make it exactly like what Scott said, just right after class. And then same thing with our student faculty mixers. We actually shifted those to be at lunchtime, so when faculty are on campus, because everyone has to eat lunch and everyone's on campus. So it actually is a great way to make sure that we do get the faculty to come to those events. So E2 Camp is actually a Arizona State sponsored event. So it's all engineering, and it's it's all engineering freshmen have to go to it. So we just are involved through being counselors, essentially. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So in your mentorship program slide, you said that you do design competitions as well. So how do those work? What do you do?
Yeah, so we have one coming up. It's a pumpkin design challenge. So we're going to have some free stuff for the best carved pumpkin, but we also get the light source from either an Arduino or just a battery and light. So we try and incorporate the engineering aspects into something that is maybe seasonal or something fun that students want to get involved in.
You mentioned that one of your goals for the future is increasing attendance of your events. What are some ideas you have for trying to accomplish that?
Yeah, so one thing is advertising. So we can go in the classrooms and have Blackboard announcements so students know when they are. And another thing we could do better is maybe plan out, because we have senior design tasks due the day of the meeting this year, just because we had a shift in the due dates for that class, and we can't really unschedule some of the meetings because we already had advertisements out there. So just more advertising, a little bit better awareness.
You guys have industry visits and things like that, what's kind of like we have a lot of trouble with overlapping student
Right.
schedules and
So typically, it can be a little difficult to coordinate with industry in terms of availability, matching up with students. We've held ours primarily on Friday afternoons around 3, which is hard to get an industry representative to really want to do that. But a lot of the time, we work with alumni who have past experience with BMES and who are more than happy to work with us. So I would highly recommend working with your alumni and seeing when they're available. Most of the time, Fridays work for them.
How do you retain your alumni and those connections?
So that's one of the responsibilities of our industry representative, is to make sure that we're reaching out to them and staying in contact. I'm still in contact with people who were on the executive board when I was a freshman and they were seniors. So really maintaining that connections as you keep going through. I think we've put it kind of on our students more so to do that, or like the executive board students. But I think it primarily is the responsibility of the industry representative.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.